Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Om. Salutations to Bhagwan Ramakrishna. Nag Mahashay, Durga Charan Nag. This is the fourth class in the series devoted to him in the household of disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. We're taking it up after a winter recess. And as we have seen in a previous class, Sri Ramakrishna was stricken with throat cancer, and he had asked Nag Mahashay's friend, "You have a friend, a doctor?" And it was conveyed to Nag Mahashay, and Nag Mahashay had come. So Sri Ramakrishna had said, "See if you can cure me." So Nag Mahashay had, with all humility, bent his head quietly, and then he made a firm resolve of drawing in Sri Ramakrishna's cancer into his own body. It has to go somewhere. You see, you cannot just disappear. And how would he have done it? Just through the willpower. Because he had tremendous will. And this is one of the hallmarks of all saints. If you want to see what's a saint like, or any holy man, see the willpower. Because that mind has become so pure, all the mind's powers are concentrated. And this concentrated mind, which is called a will, can work wonders. And Sri Ramakrishna, he saw, and Nag Mahashay approached him with this resolve: I'm going to draw the cancer into me through my willpower. Sri Ramakrishna understood. He's saying, don't. I know you can, don't. This is one of the strange things that it could have, Sri Ramakrishna could have cured himself, but that was not the will of the Divine Mother. The next display of his resolve, his willpower, you see, 4 or 5 days before Sri Ramakrishna passed away. So he wanted to taste what is called a amalaki fruit. It's called a myrobalan. Because his mouth was dry, and he's saying, can amalaki be had? My taste had become so flat and everything. He couldn't eat anything, of course. And then his appetite, he had lost his appetite. So he wanted a kind of a myrobalan. But it was not the season for myrobalan. But since Ramakrishna had uttered these words, he took it as it has to exist somewhere. And what he did was, he left the place, went on searching for 3 days and 3 nights to all the gardens and all the orchards in Calcutta. Every garden, he scrutinized each and not only garden, the trees also, in the kind of in a frenzied way. It has to be somewhere. At the end of 3 days, he comes back, and without eating and sleeping, etc., he went around for 3 days. He caught that fruit. One fruit he found after all this search. And when he came, he was always in a very disheveled looking, with wild hair, and even eyes. Barefoot. And when he brought this, everyone was thunderstruck. Sri Ramakrishna was so pleased and took it from his hand. So this was how he used to display his devotion to his Guru. As I said, again it was his resolve, a tremendous resolve. This is not an ordinary person's resolve. It is apparent. We will work for half an hour and we'll take a break for 5 minutes. We'll work for 2 hours and we'll take a break, coffee break and this break and that break. So this is that degree of concentration. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, have food today and go. 3 days he was hungry. And but it was the 11th day, that is the day when many people fast. It's called Ekadashi. So Mahashay kept quiet. So he was led down to the dining room, and there's no table and chairs. You sit down. Food was kept in front of him, and he just was silent. He wasn't speaking it. And Ramakrishnananda, who later became Ramakrishnananda, Sashi, he was trying to insist, please eat, food is ready. And he didn't touch the meal at all. All those present were trying to kind of insist, please, trying to convince him. But he was fasting on that day, and nothing would break his vow. And we have seen what a willpower he had. When he was not touching his food by any means, the master was informed about it. Sri Ramakrishna was in the room upstairs. Those who have been to Kashipur will see the flight of stairs that leads to the room upstairs. So when he heard of it, he asked that food to be brought to him. And then he took a little of it and made it into a kind of a prasad. And then he said, send it now. Now he will eat it. And when the food was placed again in front of him, he's saying, this is Sri Ramakrishna's prasad now. Well, that was it. First he did was, he prostrated in front of the food. At times, you wonder, that was a kind of devotion here. He prostrated in front of the food and then he sat down and began eating it. And now that Sri Ramakrishna, in those days, mostly, they used to serve food on plantain leaves, banana leaves, they cut it. Or another tree that's called a sal tree, a kind of a teak tree. The leaves were kind of sewed together, and so those were the leaf plates, as I say. So Mahashay, he not only ate the food, he takes that leaf and starts chewing on the leaf also. That was his. And henceforth, then, now the devotees understood never to serve him on a leaf plate, any prasadam on a leaf plate. And if there was no option, they used to be very cautious. They kept an eye. And as he was finishing the food, they used to pull the leaf plate so that he will not eat that leaf plate. Even when fruit was served, they used to see that they used to cut the fruit and everything, and only prasad, remove the pits out. If the fruit had a pit, they used to take it out. Or he would have eaten fruit, skin, and pit, everything including. So this was Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, Mahashay. He was, of course, very sad that Sri Ramakrishna was in this state and he couldn't help. So when he heard that Sri Ramakrishna passed away on August 16, 1886, he did go to the cremation ground, and when the Guru passes away, the disciple is left like devastated, full on. He returned back from the cremation ground after the cremation, and he began fasting. No food, no water for that whole day. That was kind of easy for him. 1 day, 2 days. Then Swami Vivekananda at that time was informed that Mahashay is lying down at his place without eating and drinking anything. So Swami Vivekananda with Swami Akhandananda and Swami Turiyananda, they go to his house. They go and says, Mahashay, today we are going to have a food here. Get up. And he was so thrilled, the other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And they had found him lying on the bed, covered with a blanket and with the eyes closed. So they had him roused, and there was no food at all at home. So he runs to the market, he buys food, cooks it, and begins to serve the 3 monks. So Swami Vivekananda says, keep a 4th plate. Saying, no, I cannot eat. I will not eat. In the meantime, they had prepared themselves for lunch, and they sat down and saying, okay, we'll eat first and then let him eat later, because that is also another kind of formality. The monks eat first and then the householders eat next. So they finished, and then after they finished their lunch, there was a sumptuous lunch. They asked him, now you sit down and eat. He wasn't willing, saying, this body which has not realized God, what's the use of keeping it nourished and fed, all these things? Let it go. And he was unrelenting, and Swami Vivekananda was also unrelenting. Of course, this was much before Swami Vivekananda became Swami Vivekananda. These were all just young boys, just out of their teens. And so they insisted, and then Mahashay relented. He sat down and took his food. Knowing his high state of devotion, or this is not an ordinary state of bhakti. Bhakti is divided into 2 main divisions. The preparatory bhakti, that you do your japa and dhyana and prayers and fasting and pilgrimage, these are bound by rules. And when this bhakti has become mature, when there is a spontaneous remembrance of God, in the first stage, you've got to force your mind and force your body and senses to remember God. In the second stage, the remembrance of God is constant. It's not only remembrance, it's a meditation on God. That has become spontaneous. So bhakti has become matured, it has become bhava. And we have seen, first is, before even bhakti, there is a stage called steadfastness, nishtha. From that nishtha, from the steadfastness becomes bhakti, devotion. From this devotion then becomes bhava. That is when the bhakti has become matured. And what happens? Your entire personality is changed. You do not have your old personality anymore. So it has your look, your walk, your talk, and everything is transformed. So, knowing his state of devotion, the other devotees also said, like Balram said, why don't you go and stay at Puri, he had a place out there where people could stay. He said, no, Sri Ramakrishna said, you stay at home. I want you to renounce the world, but he instructed me, Sri Ramakrishna instructed me, no, you stay at home and let people see what an ideal householder's life ought to be. Now, the householder's life, we say, oh, we've got so many things, so many worries, hundreds of cares. Yeah, you can have that, but you keep your mind fixed on God. The reliance on God is absolute. And then you will feel that everything is being done by the power of God. So what he did was, he returns back to his native place, which, as we have seen, was in Devbhog. From Calcutta, you got Devbhog. That is a few miles from the capital, what is called Dhaka of Bangladesh. And he goes there. His father was by that time old and infirm. And so Nag Mahashay began taking care of him. His wife also was there, and they both took care of it. So once his father said, my son has given up his job, he is not earning anything. His old employees had made an arrangement for him to receive some monthly stipend. So he was saying, decrying the fact that this Nag Mahashay, Durga Charan, he's not bothered about his house and what. It's in disrepair. He's saying, doesn't matter. What is the point in having things repaired and all? There's no point. So we cannot, his father was saying, we cannot celebrate any of the pujas, Durga Puja, etc. So Nag Mahashay then said, okay, if that is what pleases you, we will have the Durga. So he used to take all the trouble, collect money from God knows where. Things used to come to him. This is what happens when you rely on God completely. In the Bhagavad Gita, they're saying, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I carry whatever is necessary for the devotee, and what the devotee has, I protect. So for what devotee? All types of devotees? No. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. The one who is constantly immersed in my thought, in divine thoughts. For such a person, God himself will provide. And he says in the Bhagavad Gita, I carry to that devotee whatever is necessary. So at this stage, and that's why they say that he is also the demonstration of certain, you can say, truths of the Bhagavad Gita, especially when we are talking about Karma Yoga and even Bhakti Yoga. So he used to not only worship Durga, but also Kali Puja and Jagadhatri and all the festivals of the Divine Mother. So because that his father had voiced his kind of remorse in her, nothing is being celebrated. His father was happy. And so that his father does not think about useless things, because he used to, in a village, people talk about so many things, what the neighbor is doing, what the friends are doing, what is up to this, that. So he used to read the scriptures to the father, so that the father's mind should be devoted also to God. So he used to read the Bhagavatam and the Puranas, etc. And with his Nag Mahashay, the son's sincere efforts, his father's mind was now completely oriented towards God. in the eastern part of that, what was Bengal, that was now called the East Bengal, which is now Bangladesh. So not only in the east, but in the west also, the study and the practice of tantras was very common. The tantras had proliferated at every level of society there. And of course, with the tantras, in Bengal is famous also for the school of logic, called the new school of logic, Navya Nyaya. And so the entire, you can say, countryside was, you had a lot of practitioners, spiritual disciplines being performed, but for occult or psychic powers. And it is everywhere. So, and also you had something called the Vaishnavism, the worship of Vishnu, that is the kirtans, etc., because of the influence of Chaitanya doing that. Swami Vivekananda also had kind of mentioned about this, saying, he's saying, all these places are just kind of full of miracle mongering and tantric practices. So he had not bothered about all these things. He was devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna was his god. So there was one devotee of Sri Ramakrishna also there called Vijay Krishna Goswami. We have seen some of his, we will take one of his some part of his life later on. So Vijay Krishna Goswami was a leader of a religious sect. He was a Vaishnava, a Goswami, those devoted to Vishnu. And he was a very elevated soul, spiritually elevated soul. And so one time he had, Mahashay had gone to Dhaka for some work. And he thought he will go and meet Vijay Krishna Goswami, who was in Dhaka. He quietly went to one of these satsang, these assemblies, where Vijay Krishna Goswami was there. And when he entered, Vijay Krishna, through his insight, that is, his insight through his spiritual disciplines, he understood there's some great soul who is here. And he is looking around, and his eyes fell on Mahashay, shabby dressed and sitting in the corner quietly. And when he saw him, he recognized him, and he was thrilled, and even Mahashay also thrilled, and they both they hugged, and then they saying, this was one of his first encounters with a saint. Vijay Krishna Goswami was a saint. About Vijay Krishna Goswami, Girish used to say, then when Vijay goes to Sri Ramakrishna, he closes his eyes and meditates. Why? Keep your eyes open and look at that person there, Sri Ramakrishna, the person of Sri Ramakrishna. And Mahashay had concurred on this, saying, yes, why close your eyes when Sri Ramakrishna is there in front of you? Because Sri Ramakrishna himself used to tell his devotees, see, meditate on me. Now you can meditate, with eyes open also. You can meditate with eyes closed. When meditation becomes deep, your eyes automatically close. And these theories of cognition are such, even if you see a picture physically or even mentally, you conceive of a picture, it is the same neurons fire as if that person is actually there. Like when you see a picture of a saint or an avatar, it is as good as seeing that person in flesh, as it were. So this is, so, and as we have seen, Nag Mahashay, when he used to go to Sri Ramakrishna, he used to just gaze unblinkingly at Sri Ramakrishna. That etches very deeply the impressions on the mind. And that is a form of meditation called, as I say, Trataka. He was acquainted with another so-called holy man whose guru was another brahmachari, another holy man there. And one time, this has to be told, he was requested by the first holy man, why don't you come and meet my guru? And he's a great person. And so after a lot of insistence, Nag Mahashay relented. He said, okay, let's go and see him. So he goes to meet him. And you cannot go empty-handed to a temple or a holy person. So he had got along some fruits. So this brahmachari was sitting there, and Nag Mahashay went with all humility, and he was humility personified. There was nobody as humble as him. So he goes and takes a fruit and places it in front of that holy man. And this holy man just simply ignores the fruit, the offering, and ignores Nag Mahashay. And so Nag Mahashay goes and sits down in the corner. There were other devotees. And then looking at his shabby and disheveled hair and rugged looks and poor dress, etc., he started making fun of Nag Mahashay. And so Nag Mahashay kept quiet. He, like as I said, humble. He kept on railing at him. And then he was told that that brahmachari was told that Nag Mahashay was the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So that brahmachari, a holy man, started making fun of Sri Ramakrishna. Something like saying things which were hurtful for Nag Mahashay. And it's like this. One can hear criticism about yourself, but one should not listen to your guru being criticized. Yes. And they say that is unpardonable for the disciple if your guru is criticized. So Nag Mahashay became furious, and it is very rare that these people, they become kind of furious. And when they become furious, he was blazing with anger. He's saying, keep quiet, please be silent, do not criticize Sri Ramakrishna. And this brahmachari kept on taunting Nag Mahashay more, because that is the trick. You see, if that person is not going to responsive, you can criticize the guru and then you will get some response. And then Nag Mahashay became furious, and as he became furious, he had his eyes closed. Nag Mahashay just opened his eyes, and he saw in front of him a brown colored form of a Bhairava. Bhairava is the attendant of Shiva. These are like a terrible beings. They can create destruction. So he appeared in front. Nag Mahashay is saying, permit me to beat up this holy man. So Nag Mahashay said, no, please don't. And he left the place. He ran away from the place. And then when he was out of sight, he slowed down. The idea is a genuine holy person, that person who gets angry, and in this case, it's a Bhairava himself comes and appears in front of him. You say a dreadful figure of a Bhairava of black-brown complexion who appeared before him and begged his permission to hit the brahmacharin. This is amazing. So, are these beings kind of there? Oh yeah. One time Swami Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj, was missing in Dakshineshwar. Sri Ramakrishna was searching all over the place. And then he goes in one kind of forested area and he finds Latu Maharaj immersed in meditation, deep meditation. So Sri Ramakrishna comes back. He tells others also who have been searching for him he's there, he'll come back. Then Sri Ramakrishna returned, he came back. Then he was saying, he's meditating there, he's in deep meditation. And he's guarded by 2 dogs. They're sitting there. But they are not dogs. They are the Bhairavas, the attendants of Shiva. So they had taken the form of dogs and they were guarding. So these beings do exist. Of course, let's not get sidetracked from the main life. So that brahmachari had kind of cursed Mahashay. In 1 year, he will die vomiting blood. So everyone was kind of frightened. What's going to happen? Mahashay just dismisses it off. Like, nothing is going to happen to me. And then after 1 year, nothing happens. Then all those people who used to go to that brahmachari, they started coming to Mahashay. They saw this fellow is more powerful. So he used to say, he has spoiled the brains of good many people, householders, by preaching to them his half-digested doctrine of Vedanta. And this is what actually happens. Nowadays, everywhere you'll find Vedanta preached by everybody. Everything is Vedanta. This, you have to be careful, half-digested Vedanta or not digested at all. This is something that we know. And one of the reasons why they say that Vedanta has to be learned. But you've got to prepare yourself to learn first. Nor is the teacher prepared, nor is the student prepared. Then you can know what happens. So there was another person, like, his devotion to his guru. There was another person who was a kind of a pleader, was a pleader in those days, British colonial times, in the courts. And he had given up his job as a pleader, and then he had become a devotee of God. And so he too, once he was criticizing Sri Ramakrishna, he had heard Sri Ramakrishna saying, listen, don't criticize him. And this person, again, he wasn't going to listen to Mahashay. Kept on. Mahashay, he didn't have to call a Bhairava. He took his shoes, some footwear was there. He started beating that person. That person ran away, fled to escape the beatings from his shoes. And that's a way of, Juta Marbo, they used to say. And when Girish Ghosh in Calcutta had heard, saying, I heard that you ran behind that person who was criticizing Sri Ramakrishna with shoe and beating him, but you don't wear shoes. Where did you get the shoe? So I took his own shoes and beat him with it. So, it's very funny. Both had great affection for each other. Girish Ghosh had led her dissolute life. He's saying there was no sin on earth that he had not committed. And here we had Nag Mahashay, he had not committed any sin. They both had come to Sri Ramakrishna, both had become transformed. And they both understood each other. Girish understood Nag Mahashay's great devotion, and Nag Mahashay understood Girish's great faith. Both had tremendous willpowers, and both had great devotion to their guru. So they had become acquainted long before they had even come to Sri Ramakrishna. And after this, they came to Sri Ramakrishna, that was a huge transformation. This is what Sri Ramakrishna does. He takes each and everybody from wherever, whatever you are, and keeps you transforming according to your own nature. And he used to always say, you don't become like that person. Don't imitate. In devotion or in spiritual life, what happens is we try to imitate somebody, or you want to become like somebody. Don't. That's the greatest mistake one does in spiritual life. You follow your own nature. Be devoted to God and see how you transform yourself. And these are real changes one feels. Then again, another time, he was coming to Belur Mutt by boat, and the people were criticizing him because he raised his hands in salutations to the Belur Mutt. The boat was coming down the Ganges, and the people are saying, look at this. And what kind of monks is that? Swamiji has started a new type of kind of monasticism, which was not appreciated. First, people are saying, what is this kind of monasticism? The monks were supposed to be itinerant, roam about, beg their food, and here monks are staying in one place and doing all this work, etc. What is this relief work and opening schools and colleges and dispensaries? What kind of holy people are these? So, Nag Mahashay, when he heard this criticism, saying, hey, you don't have any strength, you don't have anything in you. You're going to criticize these saints who are doing good to the world. And he became furious. And then the other people, they told the boatman, yes, let us drop it off. We don't want to get, can say, the butt of his ire. And that's what they say. If a holy person becomes angry, and then that is a kind of it's a big demerit. So Swami Vivekananda, when he hears this, he say, yes, that kind of hissing as Nag Mahashay did is required at times. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that when the flower blooms, the bees come of their own accord. You don't need to invite them. So his saintly life, his deeply spiritual life, was attracting people from all over the place. They came for solace, they came for spiritual counsel, they came to see a saint. And none of them were disappointed. And he was utterly poor. He used to go to the marketplace, buy on credit, come and feed the devotees, at times even paying for their, travel expenses. And if they used to fall sick, he used to take care of the medicines. As you say, he was a very good doctor. He had started studying in the Campbell Medical College in Calcutta, but due to some reason he had given it up. He had taken up homeopathy and he had become an expert. So, and when Sri Ramakrishna said, it's very difficult for doctors to realize God, doctors and lawyers, he had just thrown all his medicine out in the Ganges and stopped practicing. So, he knew medicine and he used to take care of the devotees and all. And when he used to go to the market, people, the shopkeepers, of course, people used to bow down to him, and he was a venerable person, and the shopkeepers were glad to give him on credit. And at also very good prices. And he never used to bargain. He never used to quibble over price. Whatever was it. And at the end of the year, whatever was kind of was in credit, he used to make up for it somehow or the other. As I said, the Lord takes care of these devotees. One time, Swami Vivekananda, after he had returned from the West and he had heard of Nag Mahashay's big debts, which he incurs into feeding all his devotees, he wanted to clear his debts. So Nag Mahashay said, no, nothing doing. I will not take anything from you. You are all monks, and why should I take money from you all? And not only that, he used to sometimes vacate. He and his wife used to vacate the house, sit or spend the whole night on the porch, leave the house for the devotees. There were some rooms meant for guests, but when it rained, there were 1,000, you can say, holes on the roof. And you know, those straw roofs, water used to seep in. So that room which they used, he and his wife, that was comparatively better. So they used to leave their room for the guests. They used to stay out whole night chanting the name of God. So she was not kind of a mean devotee in the sense of, at his caliber, the wife also was equally strong in her devotion. Not only because a husband is saying so. Now, if a husband tells a wife to do something, you can go to hell. I'm not going to do this. They have no. But you see, she was devoted to God. That was it. And so automatically, when both the husband and the wife are devoted thoroughly to God, that makes an ideal marriage. So she kind of said, okay, fine. And she used to be like this. And she also used to serve all the devotees who used to come. Okay. We stop here for today. We'll take the 5th part next Friday. Tomorrow, we have the retreat at Arlington from 1 to 5. You're all welcome. This is at Tapovan. We also have on Sunday, Swami Brahmananda, Raja Maharaj's birthday. So he was considered the mind-born son of Sri Ramakrishna. So we'll celebrate his birthday with a talk titled Swami Brahmananda, the Spiritual Colossus. Okay, there's no questions here. There's no questions here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.